Illegal to grow, impossible to kill. The superfood, they turned into a weed. Consider the resilient plant that flourishes in the forgotten crevices of your driveway, a tenacious survivor often overlooked and even reviled. This unassuming botanical wonder possesses a nutritional profile that far surpasses even the most prized fish oils, boasting an astonishing concentration of omega-3 fatty acids. It is a species that exists independently, drawing sustenance from minimal resources, thriving without the need for water, soil, or indeed any form of human ascent. For millennia, this remarkable plant served as a vital food source, sustaining ancient civilizations across China, Greece, and the Americas, a testament to its profound nourishing capabilities. Yet, in a stark and perplexing turn of events, this once revered flora was systematically demonized, transformed from a cornerstone of sustenance into a declared public enemy. An entire economic apparatus was erected with the singular objective of its eradication, leading to widespread campaigns to poison it. Concurrently, vast sums of money, amounting to billions of dollars annually, are expended on the purchase of supplements that offer mere pale imitations of the nutritional bounty readily available from this wild, free-of-charge plant. This is the compelling narrative of a weed that defied obliteration, and the powerful industries that have a vested interest in ensuring its name remains obscured and forgotten. Welcome to Veiled Earth, where we begin to unravel this fascinating story. The year was 1969, and a group of dedicated researchers on the island of Crete were engaged in investigating a puzzling medical anomaly. Their focus was on understanding why the inhabitants of this region exhibited the lowest rates of heart disease within the entire developed world. While olive oil, wine, and fish were meticulously examined as potential contributing factors, the scientists discovered something else, a humble provision that the elderly women of the community gathered from their gardens each morning. This plant was known to them as Glystrida, a name that has since been largely supplanted by purslane in common parlance, or more scientifically, Portulaca oleracea. When the laboratory results from Minnesota finally arrived, they were met with a degree of disbelief. The data unequivocally indicated that this common garden weed contained the highest omega-3 content ever recorded in any green plant, a figure that even surpassed that of most fish. Despite the publication of a significant paper on these findings in 1986, the implications of this discovery were largely disregarded. However, the wisdom of this plant's value was far from a new revelation. Approximately 4,000 years prior in ancient Greece, individuals clearly understood its worth. In 1989, archaeobotanists conducting excavations at a Bronze Age site on the island of Santorini unearthed carbonized purslane seeds. These seeds were not discovered amongst a collection of random detritus, but were deliberately stored in clay jars alongside staple crops like barley and lentils, unequivocally identifying them as a cultivated food, harvested and preserved with care. Further evidence of its ancient significance emerged from Ozark caves, where purslane seeds, dating back an astonishing 12,200 years, were found stored alongside squash and sunflower seeds, indicating its integral role in early human diets. In China, ancient medical texts dating back to 2000 BCE laud purslane as a superior herb, possessing cooling properties beneficial for the blood and the 5 vital organs. It was referred to as machision, meaning the horse-tooth vegetable. Indigenous peoples of the Americas, including the Hopi, Navajo, and Zuni, knew it as verdaga, consuming it raw in salads, cooking it like spinach, and utilizing its medicinal properties to treat burns and intestinal ailments. Even in Australia, Aboriginal peoples recognized its value, gathering it for tens of thousands of years and calling it Munaroo. Given such a rich and extensive history of human reliance and appreciation, one must ask, how did a plant so exceptionally useful transform into one of the most vilified weeds in modern history? The genesis of this dramatic shift can be traced back to the advent of the American lawn. Purslane is a succulent, characterized by its jade-green sprawling stems that gracefully traverse the ground, adorned with small paddle-shaped leaves that possess a distinctive rubbery texture. Its ephemeral yellow flowers bloom for a single morning, yielding seed pods containing up to 250,000 tiny black seeds each. However, the true genius of purslane lies in its invisible mechanisms of survival and propagation. This plant employs a highly efficient form of photosynthesis known as crassulacean acid metabolism, CAM. Unlike most plants, which must open their stomata during the heat of the day to absorb carbon dioxide, a process that inevitably leads to significant water loss, purslane operates on a different principle. It opens its stomata during the cooler hours of the night, capturing carbon dioxide and storing it as malic acid. This stored carbon is then utilized during the day for photosynthesis, with the stomata remaining closed, drastically minimizing water evaporation. This remarkable adaptation allows purslane to survive and thrive on as little as 2 inches of rainfall per year, a mere fraction of the precipitation received even in arid environments like Death Valley. Furthermore, its regenerative capabilities are extraordinary. Any stem fragment that comes into contact with soil will readily root, transforming into a new independent plant. A single purslane plant can produce an astounding 240,000 seeds, and these seeds possess remarkable longevity, remaining viable in the soil for as long as 40 years. It exhibits an incredible tolerance for a wide range of soil conditions, flourishing in environments with a pH between 4.5 and 8.0, and it can grow in compacted dirt, even enduring extreme heat up to 45 degrees Celsius. Scientific observations have documented its presence in the cracks of parking lots in Phoenix, where ground temperatures can soar above a scorching 70 degrees Celsius. The true nutritional revelation of purslane lies within its verdant leaves. In 2014, researchers at the University of Texas undertook a comprehensive analysis of 47 common fruits and vegetables, seeking to identify nutrient-dense powerhouse foods. Purslane emerged at the very apex of their findings. Dr. Artemis Samopoulos reported the presence of an astounding 400 milligrams of omega-3 ALA per 100 grams of fresh purslane leaves. For context, most fish oil supplements contain between 300 and 500 milligrams of omega-3s per capsule, and consumers often pay upwards of $40 for a bottle of 60 capsules. In essence, purslane offers the same nutritional benefit, if not more, in a simple handful of leaves, available for free. But the nutritional profile of purslane extends far beyond omega-3s. It contains 7 times more beta-carotene than carrots, possesses the highest levels of vitamin E among all leafy vegetables, and harbors betaline antioxidants, compounds typically found only in beets. Furthermore, its melatonin content is remarkably high, ranging from 10 to 20 times that found in most other vegetables. It is also an excellent source of essential minerals such as potassium, magnesium, calcium, and iron. With a water content of 93%, it not only nourishes but also effectively hydrates the body. One researcher aptly described it as a multivitamin you can grow in a crack in the sidewalk. Given this extraordinary nutritional value, its ease of growth, and its resilience in challenging environments, why is purslane not a ubiquitous presence in grocery stores or a staple in school curricula? The answer, in large part, lies in a fundamental economic principle. You cannot effectively market and sell something that individuals can acquire for free, when a freely available food source has the potential to disrupt a multi-billion-dollar industry. That food source inevitably becomes classified as an adversary. The concept of the manicured American lawn, as we know it today, did not exist before the 1950s. Following the end of World War II, the GI Bill facilitated the construction of millions of new homes, and with them came a pervasive new ideology, the pursuit of the perfect lawn. This ideal envisioned a landscape of uniformly short, vibrantly green grass, conspicuously devoid of any weeds. Purslane, with its propensity to thrive in the disturbed soil characteristic of construction sites, found itself in an ideal environment within these burgeoning suburban landscapes, creating a veritable purslane paradise. This proliferation understandably caused panic among homeowners, prompting them to seek the services of landscaping companies. These companies, in turn, recognized a significant business opportunity. In 1947, the Scots company began aggressively marketing herbicides, and by the 1950s, they had successfully cultivated the notion that weeds were the unequivocal enemy. The primary chemical weapon in this campaign was 2,4-D, a substance originally developed during World War II for potential biological warfare applications. Following the war, chemical corporations were actively seeking new markets for their products, and the suburban lawn quickly became their chosen battlefield. The rise of homeowners associations further solidified this new order, with their bylaws often prohibiting the presence of noxious weeds. Purslane is frequently listed as such, leading to a situation where individuals could be subjected to fines for allowing what is, in fact, a nutritious food source to grow on their own property. Scott's Miracle-Gro, now a colossal $3.2 billion corporation, prominently features an image of purslane slashed with a red cross on its Weed Be Gone product packaging. For a considerable sum, consumers are encouraged to poison one of the most nutritious plants available to them. The lawn care industry, a behemoth worth an astounding $115 billion annually, fundamentally relies on the existence of enemies, of things that need to be controlled, eradicated, and managed through chemical intervention. If consumers were to realize that the very weeds they are so diligently poisoning are in fact more nutritious than many of the foods purchased in grocery stores, the entire economic structure of this industry would collapse. Purslane, by its very nature, is ill-suited for large-scale commercial sale. It grows with remarkable speed, germinating in a matter of days and reaching maturity within weeks, spreading aggressively through its easily rooting stem fragments. Its prolific seed production, with each plant yielding up to 240,000 seeds viable for 4 decades, further contributes to its widespread dissemination. Moreover, it does not transport well, it wilts quickly, bruises easily, and, being a wild plant, it cannot be patented, existing in the public domain. The threat posed by purslane extends beyond the lawn care industry, directly impacting other significant markets. The omega-3 supplement market alone is valued at $4.1 billion, while the vitamin E supplement market is worth $1.8 billion. The global leafy greens market generates an annual revenue of $12 billion. Purslane, offering all these nutritional benefits freely, directly challenges the profitability of these sectors. The deliberate suppression of knowledge surrounding purslane has been so profound that a vast majority of Americans under the age of 40 have never even heard its name. They have encountered this plant countless times, growing ubiquitously in their environments, yet they possess no identifier for it other than the generic and dismissive label of weed. The eradication of a name effectively erases the associated knowledge, and the erasure of knowledge inevitably leads to the forfeiture of power. The inherent power of purslane lies in its ability to liberate individuals from their dependence on supplements, the confines of grocery stores, and indeed, the entire industrial food system. This very independence is precisely what the established industries cannot afford to permit. While Americans have been systematically encouraged to poison purslane, other cultures have never ceased to incorporate it into their diets. In Greece, glycera continues to be gathered and consumed as it has been for 4,000 years, often blanched and simply dressed, with olive oil and lemon. In Turkey, semizotu is a common ingredient in salads, often paired with yogurt, garlic, and walnuts. In Lebanon, barclay is a standard component of the refreshing fattoush salad. In Mexico, verdolagas have never fallen out of favor. They are sold in virtually every market, cooked with pork or scrambled with eggs. In China, machichun remains a popular item in markets, features prominently on restaurant menus, and is consistently listed in traditional medical texts. Across these cultures, there has been no interruption in its use, no collective forgetting. The divergence in the United States occurred as immigrant communities initially retained their traditional knowledge of edible plants. However, as subsequent generations sought to assimilate and embrace the prevailing American culture, the desire to fit in often meant adopting American dietary habits. The younger generation gradually abandoned the practice of gathering wild greens. By the 1960s, this cultural break was nearly complete. Children growing up in suburban environments were exposed to meticulously maintained lawns but possessed no knowledge of the edible flora that surrounded them. Yet the knowledge of purslane was not entirely extinguished. It retreated underground, preserved within immigrant communities, rural areas, and families dedicated to maintaining traditional foodways. Then, in the early 2010s, an unexpected phenomenon began to emerge. Urban foraging gained traction as a trendy pursuit. By 2015, upscale restaurants were featuring purslane on their menus, often as a refined side dish in establishments in Manhattan, all while the very same plant grew freely outside their doors. Farmers markets began to offer verdigas, sometimes at prices ranging from $4 to $8 per pound. Courses dedicated to identifying wild edibles gained popularity. By 2018, purslane seeds were re-entering seed catalogs as coveted heirloom vegetables. The year 2020, marked by the global pandemic and its disruption of supply chains, witnessed a significant surge in foraging activities. Videos dedicated to identifying purslane garnered millions of views, often accompanied by poignant comments from viewers recalling their grandmother's traditions of eating it and lamenting their own past actions of poisoning what they now recognized as a valuable food source. However, what is perhaps most critically important is the impending reality of agricultural collapse. The American West is currently grappling with a mega drought, the most severe experienced in 12,200 years. The Central Valley of California, a region responsible for producing a quarter of America's food, is seeing fields fallow due to a critical lack of water. Conventional crops like lettuce, which require consistent irrigation and cool temperatures, are becoming increasingly unviable in many regions as climate change intensifies. This is precisely where purslane's resilience shines. It is a plant uniquely adapted to survive on minimal rainfall, thrive in extreme heat, and flourish in degraded soil, requiring no artificial inputs, no irrigation, and no fertilizer. In 2021, researchers at the University of Arizona highlighted purslane as a model of climate resilience, suggesting its potential as a viable food source in a warming world where water scarcity severely limits the cultivation of traditional crops. For 70 years, humanity has expended billions of dollars eradicating a plant that holds the potential to be a vital part of our future survival. Now, as the climate crisis intensifies, the solution has been present all along, growing unobtrusively in the cracks, patiently waiting. The knowledge of purslane was never truly lost. It was deliberately suppressed. Every individual who learns that purslane is a nourishing food becomes less susceptible to control by external systems. Every person who ceases to poison their lawn directly challenges the economic model of the lawn care industry. And every individual who chooses to consume purslane instead of purchasing supplements significantly shrinks the profitability of pharmaceutical markets. The industries that have profited immensely from widespread ignorance cannot endure in the face of widespread knowledge. This is precisely why purslane continues to be disparaged as a weed, and why its image is still depicted with a red slash on herbicide bottles. Therefore, the path forward is clear. Educate yourself to recognize it. Cease the harmful practice of poisoning it. Learn to harvest it, consume it, save its seeds, teach your children about its value, share this knowledge with your neighbors, reclaim its name and its rightful place. This is the plant that nourishes us without demanding anything in return. This is purslane, the food that was systematically taught to us as something to be destroyed. This invaluable knowledge is here, waiting in the cracks, growing wild and free. Its only request is that we remember. If this revelation has illuminated something new for you, consider subscribing to Veiled Earth. The next unveiling awaits.